Hey everybody, welcome in. Welcome, welcome. What is it? Today is June 10th, 2025. My name is Samantha. Welcome into Missing PNW Crimes Revisited. Got some everything. It seems like in the cases that I'm working on, everything's moving. Everything, and it's amazing to see so much movement, especially in Kyron Horman's case, since he has been missing for 15 years. 15 years. We got a birthday in the house, Miss Sally May. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. So glad you are here, Sally May. I hope you have an amazing birthday today. Hope you have lots of plans, loved ones. It's good to see you here, hon. We've got Capital Productions in the house. And of course, we got our Miss Sally May McSporran from Scotland. Zane Lilly is here. Thank you so much for coming in, hun. We've got Kate K. This case just breaks my heart. What an evil woman to hurt such a loving, happy little boy, allegedly. And in my opinion, I'm right there with you. I'll agree with that. Sarah Suspicious is in the house. Thank you so much for coming in. Always thank our moderators for all of their hard work and my spontaneous live shows. And this one was definitely spontaneous because the information just came out today. Hello, Rhonda. Good to see you. So I am just so happy to bring some more information. Amy in the house. Thank you for coming in, hun. In Kyron's case. Angel Girl, good to see you. Sally Mae, today is my birthday. Thank you guys all for wishing Sally a happy birthday. Birthdays are special. In our family, we celebrate everybody's birthdays. Everybody gets presents. Everybody gets cake. Everybody gets a happy birthday song. You cannot not have cake on your birthday and celebrate your birthday. It's big. Why? Because it's about you. And a lot of the time we forget to celebrate ourselves. We are so busy helping other people, celebrating other people, thinking about other people, doing things for other people that we forget about ourselves. So when you have your birthday, celebrate your birthday. Kim, hello, love. Thank you so much for coming in and being so supportive of Missing PNW and myself here on YouTube in our Kyron Horman case revisited and discussions group on YouTube. I'm so happy to have you here. Did you see my message about Decker being in their sites 20 minutes ago? No, I didn't. I did a live last night, and I know that they are definitely caving in on him. I read something about them starting in a specific area, and they've just, surrounding like a specific area and just moving in closer and closer. So they're caging him in. Really, really hope that they catch him. Patchwork Pudding, thank you so much for coming in. Oh, let's just hope and pray that they catch Travis Decker. What a monster. Sam, really last night, it was more like 2 this morning. Yeah, I know that they are looking, because I went over this last night in a live shortly after. Matter of fact, I was done with my live like 12 a.m., so it must have been shortly after that. Yeah, I'm thinking tonight or tomorrow too, sir, they're going to get him. But where he is at in this Ingalls Creek is like right smack dab in the middle between Leavenworth and why do I keep forgetting the name of that other place? Wenatchee. And he's right next to one of the state freeways, 97. But I mean, instead of going up north into Canada, like everybody thought he was going to do, he went south. And I had a suspicion he did that Canadian thing on his phone. Matter of fact, I told Sarah, I'm like, I just think he did that on purpose. I mean, he has so much, lots of skill, lots of training. I think he was like trying to make law enforcement chase his tail. And, you know, they did start focusing in the area north, because that's why they were climbing mountains and in the snow and everything else, because north of that campground, everything just starts going up, 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 up in elevation. And in recent pictures down by the creek, it's more sunny and everything else. And especially with the full moon that we have, they've got some good light down in there. And I mean, of course, they have their own technology that they're using, I'm sure, but the moon's going to help a lot with everything. But back to Kyron. Everything Doug Bishop, I'm telling you, I'm obsessed, okay? Doug Bishop is my hero right now. This live is Doug Bishop is searching for Kyron in renewed search efforts. Are you friggin' joking me? I already knew like 4 or 5 years ago when he was working for Adventures with Purpose that they did a search for Kyron at this dock. And matter of fact, I have it. Before I share that though, this is Kyron Horman. He vanished from his elementary school in Portland, Oregon, from his school, Skyline Elementary School. 7 years old, he went to the science fair to show everybody and see everybody else's science fair projects. He went there with his baby sister and his stepmother, Terry Horman, which is the last known person to have seen Kyron. And here at Missing PNW, 1000% that believe that Terry Horman and Dee Dee Spicer have done something horrific to Kyron Horman. And I'm really sad to have to say that, but with new evidence coming out on the burner phones that Terry Horman and Dee Dee Spicer used on June 4th, 2010, the day that he disappeared, pictures of Kyron have surfaced on those phones. There's communication on those phones. Dee Dee Spicer in 2010 led law enforcement to the burner phones she thought she destroyed. And law enforcement has had those burner phones ever since. And 2 to 3 years ago, we believe, is when the new technology advanced enough to pull the information from the burner phones. And I only say that that's when we think because of the post that started coming out by Desiree Young and Kyron Horman World Soldiers, another Facebook group that advocates for Kyron, and the person that runs that group is also close to Desiree Young. And I believe that Desiree would put a stop to it if it wasn't true, but she started posting things like new evidence proves that Dee Dee Spicer killed Kyron Horman for Terry Horman. What? We've been in shock. And it's been going on and on and on and on until August 2024, when Desiree Young talked about the pictures on these burner phones, the communication, and the other evidence that is in Kyron Horman's case. And, you know, she has just been letting off bombshells one after another. Desiree has, Kyron's mom. And she works with law enforcement. She teaches law enforcement. She works with the FBI. She works with the CARTS teams that are looking for missing people, missing children, men and women, works with families. So we have no reason to doubt anything that Desiree Young says. Matter of fact, it would absolutely be foolish of her to be saying anything like that about her son's case if it wasn't true, right? So, with that being said, if you have any information about Kyron Horman, if you have any information about Terry Horman or Dee Dee Spicer in June of 2010, please come forward, call the tip line. Kyron's case is still being looked at. It's still open and ongoing. Multnomah County Sheriff's Office has never closed his case. Please call the tip line 503-988-0560. We also know from recent talks and recent interviews with Desiree Young that Terry Horman's car, a bright red Mustang with the license plate Red Squirrel on it. We heard about it in the book Boy Missing that came out in 2019, but now in recent interviews, Desiree Young, as recent as June 4th, just 6 days ago, is talking about how Terry Horman's bright red Mustang with that license plate Red Squirrel was seen all over Portland. She believes that one of the reasons why Terry was traveling around Portland was to find locations where her cell phone wouldn't have service. You guys know when you have your phone and you go certain places and stuff, you can tell when you lose service on your phone. Well, Desiree believes that some of the areas that she was traveling to, she did on purpose. She wanted to see where she had service and where she didn't have service. So, again, any information about a bright red Mustang, where she was and what she was doing, or any of the two redheads, Dee Dee Spicer and Terry Horman, or if you have any information about any person you may have seen getting in and out or around the Horman's truck that was parked outside the school on June 4th, 2010, please come forward with the tip 503-988-0560. If you have any footage or pictures or that you have from the science fair because you were there with your child, or you were there because you were a teacher or a chaperone or any of those things, please, if you haven't turned that information over to law enforcement and you still have it, get a hold of law enforcement, give them that information. This is big, you guys. It's been 15 years and we need to bring justice to Kyron Horman. We have to start bringing more awareness to him, sharing him more. We cannot allow him to be forgotten. Here at Missing PNW, we will never let that happen. So please share Kyron, share. I just cannot express enough with it. When a case is 15 years old, how important it is to continue sharing his face. 503-988-0560, $50,000 reward, and you can remain anonymous. Be Kyron's hero. Be the family's hero, please. So what I was talking about earlier was Doug Bishop used to work with Adventures with Purpose dive team. He still works for the dive team, but he's not collaborating with those people anymore because one of them got in trouble for an assault of some sort on a minor. And so he is now part of United Corps or United Search Corps. And they did, though. Adventures with Purpose did. Let me share my screen real quick. They did do a search for Kyron in the river along a dock. This was 10 to 11 years, I want to say, after Kyron disappeared.
What do you think happened to Kyron?
Why is that playing? Hold on.
The search has been scaled back, of course, at this point, but it is still going on.
It has been 9 years of not knowing where he went or what happened to him. 9 years without hugging him. 9 years without his smiles or his laughs. 9 years without his love. My heart is broken.
And let me just kind of read this so that way, you know, I don't miss anything. So those of you who have never heard of the case before, let's just bring you into it. You know, so Kyron Horman, he was born September 9th of 2002, went missing and disappeared from Skyline Elementary School June 4th of 2010 after attending the science fair. The local and state police, along with the FBI, conducted an exhaustive search for Horman and launched a criminal investigation, but they have not uncovered any significant information regarding the child's whereabouts. His disappearance sparked the largest criminal investigation in Oregon history. And with this one, the person of interest has been his stepmom. And you have a couple hours to where what happened to Kyron during this couple of hours. Now our specialty is underwater sonar search and recovery, and a lot of searches have taken place in some smaller ponds, and we're not dealing with what we normally go looking for is going to be, you know, a vehicle that's underwater. This one is a little bit different, that we have 10, 11 years that have now passed, and if you were to simply dispose of a individual in the water, we're not going to find it. Typically, you know, as I started thinking about this, is Doug, you and I, we pulled a couple of cars from this one particular boat ramp.
Yep.
Over on Savvy Island.
And that's where we pulled out a wagon. It was unusual to find a wagon.
And so then that got me to thinking, you have 2.5, 3.5 hours, you know, you have a small couple of hours. Mm-hmm. And if you are a smaller female who needs to transport a 10-year-old body,
yeah,
how are you going to do it? You know, and potentially this wagon that we found 1.5 years ago, does that actually play into it? And so we're trying to reach out right now to any of the family members, any of the Multnomah County detectives that were on the case to find out.
Later, it was found that the wagon had nothing to do with it, but I do want to fast forward and just show you, you know, they went, they looked, they didn't find anything.
So right here, I don't think it's a vehicle.
But this is what Doug does. He goes out into the water and they search. He's got quite a large search and rescue team. They are good with tow trucks, towing equipment, because they use the towing equipment to pull things out of the water. They did do an extensive search. This was, I believe, on the Willamette River, or maybe it was even the Willamette Channel, or the, oh my goodness, there's a channel that runs through there. But I don't want to show you all the video because it is quite long. You can go and watch it. But this is what Doug does. This is what Doug does. And like I said, this was done, you know, a long time ago. This was at least 4 to 5 years. And I am finding out more and more that Doug Bishop has actually been a part of Kyron's case a little bit longer than I thought. I didn't know this. I did not know that he was working with Desiree for a while now, or helping bring awareness to Kyron Horman's case. And now I'm starting to believe that, like they just said, we were trying to reach out to law enforcement and the family to find out if this wagon has anything to do with Kyron Horman's disappearance. Okay, they went out there on their own to search for Kyron, right? So it sounds like they weren't involved with talking with any of the family members or Multnomah County. But I think after this, you know, these burner phones were found and new evidence surfaced, I think that took and sparked a new interest. So I've got a ton of information to show you guys with Doug Bishop's involvement in Kyron. One happens to be something that I found. The Multnomah channel. Yes, thank you. Took the words right out of my mouth. They searched the Multnomah channel, I believe is where that dock was. And I know that they did a search. We'll get into the Reader Road, but I was blown away when I found this map earlier. So first I want to show you guys something that I found that is just kind of proves to me that let's see, Kyron, he's been advocating for Kyron now for a couple of years at least, if not more.
Okay, stop scrolling. Everybody that's reading this, if you're in the Portland, Vancouver region, Saturday and Sunday, June 3rd and 4th, Kyron Horman's family is going to be having a car wash. They have it every year. And this is to raise awareness for his disappearance, his controversial disappearance, and also to raise funds to continue the search efforts to hopefully locate Kyron. It's going to be at the Les Schwab in the parking lot off of Southwest Walker Road between 9 a.m. and 6 p.m. So please, if you're in the Portland region, attend this. If the parking lot's full and there's too many cars getting washed, simply go and leave a donation. This is going to help efforts with locating Kyron and continuing the search efforts into his case. Please go, please donate, help out Kyron's family, help find Kyron. Everybody in the Portland region, go over there. If you don't do nothing but leave a donation, do it. Okay, stop scrolling.
So that short that he made for that car wash, Desiree Young does yearly car washes for Kyron, like he said, to raise money for searches. A few years ago, or maybe a couple of years ago, she started talking about how she was going to raise money to get a PI. At the vigil, when I met Doug Bishop, I found out that he was volunteering. So I don't think she's hired him as a PI, but he is a PI and investigates and everything else. So this is great. And seeing that he was trying to get people to go over to the car wash in Portland a couple of years ago speaks volumes. It also speaks volumes that Desiree Young hasn't posted anything about having a car wash. And when I asked her about a car wash at the vigil, she says they're not having a car wash this year. This is what they're doing this year, the vigil. So that was big to me. That means she's not raising money to do any searches. That means somebody else is doing the searches. And guess who it is? Oh my God. What? Oh my God. I'm so excited. You guys don't even know. Like, I have to, you guys. I have to do it.
We're coming for you. Don't sleep.
Like, here she comes to save the day. Like, I am so friggin' stoked. You guys don't even know. Doug Bishop is searching for Kyron. He is, I can now tell, working closely with the family. Oh my gosh. Working. This is great. I have to show you guys some more stuff. All things Doug Bishop today.
We implore Terry Horman to fully cooperate with the investigators to bring Kyron home. And I remember that day like it was yesterday. I was not prepared for that moment, for that phone call. The phone call that turned everything I knew and understood to be right in this world upside down.
I remember driving up to the school like it was yesterday.
It's 10 years without his laughter, his smiles, without his hugs.
I just want her to see his face every single day. It's a roller coaster every day. Driving up here, I was listening to a song, and it's one of Kyron's songs, and it makes me cry every time. And I wish that we could dance to it again together. We implore Terry.
And here's the thing. The name of his short here is Shocking Evidence. 3 murder for hire plots, failed FBI tests, justice for Kyron Horman. Failed FBI tests. Is Doug talking about the FBI giving Terry Horman polygraph tests? Because I believe they are the ones who did her polygraph test, but she took 2 and walked out on the 3rd. So that's why I'm a little bit confused on failed FBI tests, unless there was some kind of other failed FBI tests. But here you got him again advocating for Kyron. This is big to me, because when I started searching today and looking around, like, okay, I got to figure this out. How long has Doug Bishop been working for the family? And it's just blown my mind to find out a lot longer than I thought. I thought it was just recent. Nope. He's been looking for a minute. This is amazing news, you guys. Doug Bishop, one thing I know about him is he doesn't give up. And when he doesn't find what he's looking for, all he does is work harder and harder and harder and harder to find what it is that he is looking for. So we know that let's see, where was this? Okay, what he wrote on, like, he's been writing and talking about certain things in his United Search Corps group. So I want to talk about that real quick, because the thing is when me and Doug talked at Kyron's vigil, he told me and you YouTubers, we can talk more about things. We can say things that, like, Desiree or law enforcement can't say, right? And we can. And I've learned that in the Michael Vaughn case that I work on. So, in this one, he named it A Voice for Kyron, Finding Hope, Giving Peace, Voice for Kyron. He talks about his disappearance, how this haunts the minds of the investigators in the community. This article explores the controversial case that sheds light on why Kyron's stepmother, Terry Horman, has been considered a suspect. We have Doug Bishop calling her a suspect. Well, I know just from hanging out with him at the vigil that he's working close with Desiree Young. He's working close, I believe, with law enforcement if he is out there doing searches for Kyron. That's huge for him to say. Just want to point out, because she has never been named by law enforcement as a person of interest or a suspect. The vanishing of Kyron Horman on that faithful day, 2010, 7-year-old Kyron Horman was dropped off at Skyline Elementary School by his stepmother, Terry Horman, for a science fair. However, when Kyron's father arrived to collect him later that day, the young boy had mysteriously vanished. Despite the extensive search efforts and a decade-long investigation, which now it's been 15 years, the truth behind Kyron's disappearance remains elusive. Terry Horman as a suspect, question mark. And then Doug writes out, throughout the investigation, Terry Horman emerged as a focal point of scrutiny. Several factors contributed to her status as a suspect in Kyron's disappearance. Inconsistent statements. We have talked about this so many times. Kane and Desiree have both said not only would she change her story pretty much every day for the first few weeks, she would change her story multiple times a day. Terry Horman provided inconsistent accounts of her actions on the day Kyron vanished, which raised questions about her credibility and potential involvement in the case. Why can't she account for her actions for the day that Kyron came up missing? Why are there multiple different stories about how she exited the school, where she drove around to, what she bought, her times of where she was at the gym, where she says she got there at 11:39 a.m. when the gym actually knows because her check-in time was 12:20. Or why she says she went to certain places when she actually didn't, when she's trying to create an alibi. Why she's out showing everybody the last picture that she took of Kyron that day at the science fair, the picture that we looked at earlier. And then he goes on to say, failed polygraph tests. It is reported that Terry Horman failed a polygraph examination, a result that intensified suspicions surrounding her knowledge or participation in Kyron's disappearance. Although polygraph results are not admissible as evidence in court, they often play a role in shaping investigative focus. Yes, because they're used as a tool to find deceit. And we know that. We know they're not admissible. But not only did she fail one, she failed two, and she walked out on a third. All the questions that she failed were all regarding Kyron. And did Kyron leave with her from the school? Was Kyron in the truck with you when you left the school? Those are the questions. Unusual behavior. Witnesses came forward with accounts of Terry Horman's behavior following Kyron's disappearance, noting her apparent lack of emotional distress. Additionally, allegations of an attempted murder-for-hire plot against her husband, Kyron Horman, added to the cloud of suspicion hovering over Terry. And that's the only one murder-for-hire that came out. That was Rudy Sanchez, the landscaper that Kyron Horman, Kyron's dad, didn't even know that Terry had hired to work there at the property. He came forward about that alleged murder for hire. But now we know, because Desiree has talked about it, and we know that Doug Bishop knows about it, 3 murder for hire plots, all murder for hire plots done by 3 different people, one being the week prior to Kyron's disappearance. So when she couldn't get rid of Kane, she shifted her focus on Kyron, is my belief. This unusual behavior, she acted like she was the hostess with the mostest the day that Kyron came up missing, trying to serve people coffee and coffee cake. And, you know, we even know that the baby didn't want to be with Terry at all, did not want her that day that Kyron disappeared. We believe that the baby, and so does Kane, he has said that maybe the baby witnessed something unimaginable. And also Desiree Young mentioned it to Rebecca Morris, because Rebecca Morris wrote about it in the book Boy Missing, The Search for Kyron Horman. Also, her behavior following Kyron's disappearance is there is no tears for Terry. Even though she acts like in the first press conference that she's so upset, you never see her cry or tear up. And the only one time she does is when she is on People Magazine interview in 2016 or 17. And that's when they brought up the fact that she has never, ever seen her daughter since Kyron's disappearance, because Terry Horman refused to talk about Kyron and what happened the day that he disappeared. Parenting concerns. As last person known to have seen Kyron, Terry Horman's parenting and caregiving came under scrutiny. Accusations of neglect and subpar parenting further contributed to suspicions regarding her involvement, because we know that Terry Horman, Kane has said he was having to protect Kyron the last few months prior to his disappearance, and that her discipline for all three children were extreme, and punishing the children should have been according to like their age group. Like Kyron was 7, Kiara was 18 months. James, that lived in the house at the time, I believe was 13 or 14 years old. So their ages were different. Punishments should have been different. And it was a concern to Kane that punishments were extreme and didn't fit their age groups, which I can't even believe punishments even mentioned when you're talking about an 18-month-old baby. Like, how much punishing can you do? It goes on to say here, why no charges or arrest have occurred. The disappearance of Kyron Horman from Skyline Elementary School remains a baffling, heart-wrenching mystery. Terry Horman's status, a suspect, is rooted in inconsistencies, failed polygraph tests, alleged unusual behavior, and concerns about her parenting. Seemingly all circumstantial, yet some would argue that the jury should decide. The involvement of the investigation agencies such as MCSO and FBI underscores the commitment to finding answers. The Portland community has been outraged at what seems to be very little action. However, the challenges inherent in cold cases, including the passage of time and the lack of new leads, have hindered progress in this case. Until conclusive evidence emerges and the local authorities decide to truly take action, the disappearance of Kyron Horman remains an unsolved puzzle, leaving his loved ones and the community yearning for closure. Doug Bishop. And he's right, because the most of us that have ever seen the press conference looks at Terry Horman during that press conference and goes, oh my God, something's not right. Like, her whole mannerism is off. Everybody's screaming like this woman did something. Of course, we can't go off of that, but I mean, come on. You have first of all, huge red flags that she, cannot account for her day, period. That is like the biggest red flag ever. I mean, by the time he came up missing, it's been 6.5 hours or longer, and she can't give a timeline of what she was doing that day. It's not accurate. It kept changing. Her stories kept changing. Huge red flags. Of course, it made her a person of interest right away. And we say here at Missing PNW, she's been the focus, and so has Dee Dee Spicer for 15 years. I've never heard of another person that law enforcement actually focused on hardcore, except for in the very, very, very beginning, focusing on a few people, and then they're cleared, but then focus to Terry. They didn't hyper focus on Terry. Terry did this to herself. Terry did this to herself. There is no evidence whatsoever to prove that Kyron was sold. There's no money trail. There's nothing. The investigation is local. And there are pictures of Kyron on these burner phones after he left the school, the burner phones that Dee Dee and Terry used that day that give out a specific location, which we're going to get into that too. A specific location, because pictures all have a location. All the evidence against her solidified my thoughts from the day I seen her behavior in that press conference. And so many people agree with you. The baby saw something for sure, 100%. And I really believe it. I hope she never remembers. She is a young woman now, and I just hope she never, ever, ever remembers. And Doug Bishop does. He has the biggest heart. Matter of fact, when I went to walk away after talking with him, I went to shake his hand, and he was like, "Can I give you a hug?" And I said, "Sure." And he gave me like the biggest hug ever. He's so committed to Kyron's case. I am so very happy that he is on Kyron's case. Just ecstatic, ecstatic. And I, face to face told him that too. Like, I cannot even be more happy that you're on this case, that you're working this case. I did a happy dance because I've been watching his work for years and years. And it is just absolutely amazing that he's working on the case. Now, let's talk about the location. Do I want to do the Facebook? Let's talk about this one first. I don't know if the cell phone stuff is in this one, but I want to talk about this. This is another post by the United Search Corps, Doug Bishop. This is Kyron Horman. New developments case turns a new page. This was January 1st of 2025. Doug Bishop is the founder of the United Search Corps. He goes to talk about Kyron here for a second. Former Multnomah County prosecutor Don Reese granted immunity to Terry's accomplice, Dee Dee Spicer, only to fail to use her testimony effectively. Despite eyewitness accounts, evidence of evidence tampering, I found this very, very, like, what? Evidence of evidence tampering and DNA evidence that could have strengthened the case. No charges were ever filed. Evidence of evidence tampering. What? Despite eyewitness accounts, evidence of evidence tampering. So there's evidence that somebody was tampering with evidence, is what's that saying. Doug Bishop's working on this case. What the hell does he know? And who tampered what? Are we talking about Dee Dee Spicer trying to destroy the burner phones? That's evidence of her tampering with evidence, or is this an inside thing? And the DA evidence that could have strengthened Kyron's case. Evidence of evidence tampering and DNA evidence that could have strengthened the case. Is that the tampering? I am blown away by this. This is huge to me. I don't know if Heidi's seen it or not or read this before, but I was absolutely blown away. Could it be the cell phones? I don't know. Huge. I cannot wait to show this to Heidi if she's not already here. No charges were ever filed for Kyron's family and the community. The case has always been a symbol of frustration and heartbreak, laying out the evidence and details never done before in an exclusive interview with Kyron's mother. This is something he did with Desiree Young. He met her. They did have, she gave an amazing interview and dropped bombshell after bombshell after bombshell. We have gone over this interview. It was absolutely amazing. And that's where we found out about the 3 murder for hires. That's also, well, I found out about that sooner, but that's when she told the public. A broken system. challenges in a no-body homicide prosecutions. Kyron's case has highlighted the old school limitations of the justice system in prosecuting no-body homicides. In the past, such cases often faltered due to the reliance on direct evidence. Without a body, prosecutors must depend on circumstantial evidence, which can be challenging to present convictingly to a jury if not done the right way. Despite evidence, the 14 years Kyron's case has remained stagnant, a victim of prosecutorial inturia. I don't even know if I said that right. Inturia, and outdated approaches to solving complex crimes. But the new chapter begins today, January 1st, 2025, with the official appointment of Nathan Vasquez as the new Multnomah County District Attorney, first day in office, which we now know Nathan Vasquez has new eyes on this case. They are digitizing, compiling, making a case to take to court. The FBI will be looking at it. The BAU will be looking at it. Nathan Vasquez will push forward in this case. I have no doubt that he won't. There's no doubt he will. Nathan Vasquez brings a modern perspective and a fierce determination to tackle cold cases like Kyron. Known for his meticulous approach, Vasquez has already publicly vowed to prioritize this case and fight for Kyron. So here, modern tactics for nobody cases, forensic advancements. Trace evidence like blood, tissue, and DNA, even after attempts to destroy it, can now provide definitive links to suspects. You guys hear that? Evidence like blood tissue and DNA, even after there's attempts to destroy it, can now provide definitive links. Did you guys hear above where evidence of evidence tampering and DNA evidence that could have strengthened the case? It sounds almost like Terry Horman, Dee Dee Spicer maybe tried to attempt to destroy some kind of DNA. That's what it's sounding like to me. Or is this like an inside thing? I don't know. What do you guys think? Are we talking about, yeah, JDR, exactly, like maybe washed vehicle inside or out or something? But I don't think they're talking about Multnomah County Sheriff's Office tampering. I'm thinking they're pointing their fingers at Terry or Dee Dee Spicer tampering with evidence like DNA, blood, or tissue. Attempts to destroy it can now provide definitive links to suspects. Digital footprints. Digital footprints as far as cell phone tower pings. And we know Terry Horman's phone pinged somewhere along Highway 30 that runs east and west south of Sauvie Island. And we're going to talk a little bit more about Sauvie Island in a little bit. The digital footprints, GPS data, cell phone records, and online activity can paint a clear picture of suspects' movements and intent. That GPS data can give a location. We know that they've been using search grids to find Kyron. And I'm not sure what kind of online activity. Are they talking about Terry's emails, hatred emails? Who knows? Then you've got behavioral analysis. He's talking about a behavioral analysis here. And what is the BAU? A BAU is behavioral analysis team that they are going to start working on Kyron's case. They're huge and important. Why? Because this is a nobody case. Investigators analyze suspect behaviors before and after a disappearance, such as sudden lifestyle changes or attempts to manipulate evidence. Here again, you have manipulate evidence. Looks to me like Terry Horman and Dee Dee Spicer did something here, and they know it. They know it. And it keeps repeating in my head, Doug Bishop saying, we as YouTubers can release things that, about suspects or persons of interest or even the focus of whatever, because the parents or the people involved in the disappearance can't, law enforcement can't. We can talk about it. Maybe even somebody might sue us, but he literally looked at me face to face and said, go ahead, sue me. I said, yep, I feel the same way. Anybody can come after me. I'm going to talk about the facts. I'm going to talk about what I know. And if Dee Dee Spicer and Terry Horman want to come after me and sue me, well, they're going to have to talk about Kyron's case and try to prove that what I'm saying is wrong if they want to try suing me. So go for it. Go for it. Case law precedents. Recent convictions in I have to look this up, plethora of nobody cases provide templates for successful prosecutions. 2025 is a new era. Kyron's case stands as an opportunity to apply these advancements and build a compelling narrative to achieve overdue justice. As the fight for Kyron enters this new year phase, the community's role remains crucial. Your vigilance tips, support, and then, if you have any tips, always 503-988-0560, and there is a $50,000 reward. And he has made a new Kyron flyer. Missing Kyron Horman with all of his information and this big fat United Search Corps and National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, 1-800 the lost number at the bottom. You guys, I'm so stoked. I am so stoked. I have to go over. Ink is here. Hey. It's so good to see you here, hun. Long time no see. Yeah, I am just so excited. There's just so much new movement, and it's just so good to see. It's absolutely so good to see. And we heard, Doug Bishop talking about the immunity that Dee Dee Spicer has. Well, he talked about it on YouTube too with an FBI agent. Let me grab this real quick. This is with Break the Case with Jen Coffendaver or something like that. I can't ever remember how to say her name. If one of my moderators actually could put her link, please, I would appreciate it. So Doug Bishop went on her show and talked about Kyron Horman and talked about this immunity deal. Check it out.
I want to talk to you really quick before we shift our main focus on Sebastian to Kyron. I know you and I talked about maybe doing a project together. I was so glad to see this week, I posted about it, that the FBI, yes, they are always involved peripherally on cases, but they are digging their feet in on this case. Mm-hmm. Did you know about
digging their feet in on this one? They're usually involved, but man, they're digging their feet in on this one. This is exciting. I hope you guys are excited about this as I am, because I am just so excited that everything's moving.
This, I'm sure you did, and give us some thoughts about where that investigation's at.
Yeah, last year You and I got together when we put out the Kyron Horman documentary that I did with Kyron's mother. We kind of put out some information that had never been put out so that we could publicly and tactically put pressure in places that it needed to be. It's a very shocking case. And we also had an incumbent district attorney that was, preaching a good.
I just want to talk about, he was saying, like, he got together with Desiree. They put out an interview that he did with Desiree. She dropped some bombshells, and it was on purpose to, put pressure on Terry and Dee Dee. And I've shown it before and talked about it before. She went down to Roseburg when Terry lived down there, protested outside of her house. They took shock. They rode all over the road. She had went before and protested outside Mike Schmidt, the old DA, when he wouldn't do anything and move forward with Kyron's case. She has went in front of now Terry Horman's house, Terry Horman Vasquez's house, because she's remarried, down in Clear Lake, California. Went all the way down to California to hold signs and walk in front of her house. And they recently went down, I believe it was September or October, to Dee Dee Spicer's house, where a fight broke out because Dee Dee Spicer called her brother and sister-in-law to come try to put a stop to everything. And that woman, that sister-in-law of Dee Dee Spicer's, done lost her mind. But I mean, Desiree goes to extreme to put pressure on Terry and has never stopped doing that. And then, letting off all these bombshells, talking in recent interviews about Terry Horman's car being seen all over, bringing out new emails, everything, pressure on suspects. And pressure works. And I know it works because the pressure that we put on the suspects in the Michael Vaughn's case within the last 6 months has brought in so many tips. It's unbelievable.
Preach about what he was and wasn't going to do, which a lot of politicians, when they're in office and running for office per se, they all talk a good game. But when you get into office, does that follow through? A lot of them get into office, they have good intentions, but they get into office and they realize can't really do that, or it's not really designed for this to play out like I intended it to. There's rules where I didn't know there was rules, or there's all of that bureaucracy. But this individual, Nathan Vasquez, was elected. His support got him elected, and he's changing things. He's been very invested into following through. He has been following through, and that has led to what you're discussing. I can't disclose too much, but they're on everything. And there should be some results that have come through this year. Of what they are, obviously nobody knows, but they're long overdue. It's one of the most controversial cases in the country, with an overwhelming amount of evidence that is just absolutely shocking. And
and he keeps saying this over and over and over again. There's an over amount of evidence, and it's just shocking. It's like he's so shocked that this case has not been solved, that somebody hasn't been prosecuted, that Terry and Dee Dee are not behind bars. Like, so much evidence. He doesn't say circumstantial evidence either. He says evidence.
The FBI is involved, and they have to be. That case gave out a pretty reckless immunity on a state level, immunity deal.
He says, and they have to be, because the state gave out an immunity deal. Why does the FBI have to be involved because the state gave out an immunity deal? I don't know. But here's the shocking thing.
Which, doesn't count on a federal level.
That immunity deal is a state immunity, and it doesn't mean anything on a federal level. So he's saying the FBI had to get involved. And now that they have, the state immunity isn't going to mean anything. Doesn't necessarily mean that the federal government is going to prosecute Terry, because we know that Nathan Vasquez has said FBI, BAU is going to look into it. you know, use their eyes and investigate it and stuff. They're not saying the FBI is going to take over the case, but for whatever reason, the FBI had to get involved. And Desiree Young promised Dee Dee Spicer she was going to find a way to take away her immunity, and I believe she did. I think Desiree Young has found a way to take away that immunity. So Dee Dee Spicer, your ego, I cannot wait for that to be shattered when cuffs get put on you, and you were also charged for whatever you did to Kyron Horman, whatever you helped Terry do, whatever your involvement is, whatever knowledge you have, your ego will be shattered. Shattered.
So when the feds are involved, that's a good thing. It's always a good thing.
Good for numbers, and it's good for coming in. And I don't want to say playing cleanup. I mean, sort of playing cleanup, like as in a batting order, you know, coming, looking at what's done, and then hopefully hitting the home run at the end, because Kyron deserves justice. His family deserves justice. And, you know, quite frankly, there's a great subject and there's a lot of evidence, and let's just hope that, you know, the home run is hit soon.
Subjects, multiple. Yeah.
And he corrects her and says subjects. And that's why we know it's just not Terry Horman that law enforcement's looking into. They're looking into Dee Dee Spicer. They always have. Even though they've kind of kept Dee Dee Spicer a little bit in the bushes after the flyer came out with her face on it, after they searched her condo, after they searched her family members' houses, her aunt's house in Helvetia, like, she thought she was getting away with something, and she's not. She is not going to get away with it. And he reminds this FBI agent here, Koffendorf, that, yeah, suspects in 2 individuals, not 1. Oh man, I just cannot tell you guys how friggin' excited I am. Mama B in the house. Pretty Assessor's here too. So glad to have everybody here. This is good news for me. Dee Dee had an accident in her pants. I'm hearing that. I don't know about Dee Dee, but I know Terry Horman peed herself on the Dr. Phil show. Good to see you, Mama B and Pretty Assessor. Thank you guys so much for coming in. I'm just reading. Thank you for Sarah for putting up Jen's. I wanted to give her credit there. I'll have to put her link into afterwards because I did forget. So let me bring you guys the news that you guys want to hear, and that is that Doug Bishop is searching for Kyron Horman. Let me put this up here. Yay, I'm so excited. Okay, let me just... Wait. Nope. We don't want to do that. Hold on a second, you guys. What happened? Okay. What's up there? I don't know why all those are up there. Okay. There's a bunch of little blogs or something in this, but we're still going to go over it. So let's just get into this. If I can find the play. Come on, ads. It's ridiculous.
How did a 7-year-old 7-year-old boy disappear from his own elementary school. It happened 15 years ago this June in Portland, Oregon.
Well, that's not very loud.
Kyron Horman was last seen in his school hallway. He hasn't been seen since. His disappearance sparked the largest missing.
Hold on one second, guys. I don't think you guys can probably hear that. I need this to go up. Need this. Okay. One more time, you guys. Sorry. I hate places like these. Different ads popping up everywhere. It's hard to share your screen. You get a million little things popping up in front of you. Here's this. No, we do not want to be part of the conversation. I just want to play this.
How did a 7-year-old boy disappear from his own elementary school? It happened 15 years ago this June in Portland, Oregon. 7-year-old Kyron Horman was last seen in his school hallway. He hasn't been seen since. His disappearance sparked the largest missing person search in Oregon's history, and it remains one of the state's most perplexing mysteries. I'm Kristen Thorne, and this is In Touch Investigates. On the morning of June 4th, 2010, Kyron arrived at Skyline Elementary School in Northwest Portland with his stepmother, Terry Horman. He was excited to present his science fair project. Terry took a photo of Kyron in front of his display, capturing what would become the last known image of him. Terry reported that she left the school around 8:45 a.m. and that she last saw Kyron walking down the hallway towards his classroom. However, he never arrived. Later that afternoon, when Kyron didn't return home on the school bus, his parents contacted the school. The school told them Kyron had been marked absent. The school called 911. Later that night, the FBI was notified. The search for Kyron became the most extensive in Oregon's history, involving local, state, and federal agencies. Despite exhaustive efforts, no trace of Kyron was ever found. Terry Horman, the last person reported to have seen Kyron, has consistently denied any involvement in his disappearance. Her attorney recently stated she would not be commenting on the 15th year anniversary of Kyron's disappearance. Kyron's mother, Desiree Young, filed a lawsuit years ago against Terry Horman, alleging responsibility for Kyron's disappearance. But she later dropped the case to avoid interfering with the ongoing investigation. Every year, Desiree and the community hold a car wash to raise money to continue searching for Kyron. One of the groups she's reached out to is United Search Corps and Doug Bishop. His group.
Look at that. I mean, when they stepped out of the truck at the vigil, like, they look like an army full of people. A bunch of badasses. Like, it's awesome. This is their search and rescue team here. It's amazing.
Specializes in looking for missing people, going in rugged, dangerous terrain that many times police won't or just can't go. So first, Doug, take me through what you have done in terms of searching for Kyron.
Yeah, so we've been involved in several searches relating to this case, and it's a case that obviously dates back now more than a decade. And the circumstances surrounding this case, allude to some areas that are some really difficult terrain to search, and also to some individuals involved that we believe had something to do with his disappearance. So I've been involved in multiple searches in the Columbia River area near this is south of the Skyline Elementary School.
His own elementary.
Oh my gosh, what happened? So he just said that he has been involved in searches south of the school. I believe he meant to say north, because he talks about searching the Columbia River. The Columbia River is north of Skyline Elementary School. Just wanted to let you guys know. But he's talking about like searching the Columbia River, which is huge because that's on the other side of Sauvie Island, which we're going to talk about here soon.
Allude to some areas that are some really difficult terrain to search, and also, more than a decade. And this case, and it's a case that obviously dates back now more than a decade. And the circumstances surrounding this case, allude to some areas that are some really difficult terrain to search, and also to some individuals involved that
Police. Doug, take me through what you have done in terms of searching for Kyron.
So we've been involved in several searches relating to this case, and it's a case that obviously dates back now more than a decade. And the circumstances surrounding this case, allude to some areas that are some really difficult terrain to search, and also to some individuals involved that we believe had something to do with his disappearance. So I've been involved in multiple searches in the
He also mentions individuals involved, again, plural.
Columbia River area near this is south of the Skyline Elementary School area where he was last seen, where he went missing from, and also in an area where one of the suspects in the case, their cell phone pinged near.
So Terry Horman's phone pinged again on Highway 30, which runs east and west, south of Sauvie Island. And I do believe he meant to say Columbia River. He helped search, and that's north of Skyline, because it is north of Skyline. And the Columbia River is also north of Highway 30. We are going to get into a couple maps that I found as soon as this is over with, so I can show you guys.
In a time frame where we believe something happened to Kyron, and there was a disposal process that was being played out with those who are involved.
Doug,
a disposal process having to do with Kyron with those involved. I don't know if this is a disposal of evidence or if he's actually talking about Kyron Horman. And he's talking about being in this area, obviously, because they have, something putting them in this area. Could it be something off of those burner phones? I don't know. But this last little bit, I just want to play again because it's so important. Listen to his wording.
Something happened to Kyron, and there was a disposal process that was being played out with those who are involved.
Doug, do you think there are...
Where he went missing from, and also in an area where one of the suspects in the case, their cell phone pinged near, in a time frame where we believe something happened to Kyron.
And then he mentions this time frame. There's a cell phone ping, and then he talks about this time frame in which they think something happened to Kyron.
And there was a disposal process that was being played out with those who are involved.
Doug, do you think there are places that you could still search?
Yes. This is definitely a case that we believe specific types of further searches can possibly be fruitful in finding Kyron. However, this is also a sensitive case where we have to respect the fact that the district attorney is now keeping it an open case and also working with them. The biggest thing that we have going on in this case right now is that we have a new district attorney, Nathan Vasquez, who's just been put into Multnomah County, He's only been in office for a few months. During his campaign, he was very outspoken with all of us that are very close to the case, that he's going to pursue the case and take it very seriously.
And he says Nathan Vasquez has been very outspoken with all of us that are involved in Kyron's case. Us meaning himself. I am pretty sure he is working not only with law enforcement, but with everybody. Desiree, I'm just blown away by this interview. That came out today. This is from today.
Seriously.
Doug, I remember when you and I met for the first time about a year ago on a different case that we were investigating, and you brought up this case to me.
Yeah. A lot of the cases that I get involved with, majority of the cases I get involved with are with families who have had little to no help at all whatsoever.
And I find it very interesting that he's mentioning this case, mentioning being involved in this case. Many cases he's involved in, he invests himself in, but he talks about this case with her a year ago. He was doing a short 2 years ago on his YouTube. So he's been involved with Kyron's case for a bit. And I'm not talking about Adventures with Purpose. I'm talking about within the last 2 to 3 years after these phones produced pictures of Kyron after the school.
And when I come into a case, not only am I breathing, a freshness of hope, but also the possibility that answers may come from the work that I do to put into it. However, this case is one that is just unlike any other, where it's just shocking when you go into the details of the who, the what, the when, the where, and the why, and the how. It's just shocking every step of the way.
Doug Bishop with United Search Corps, thank you so much for joining us to talk about this very important case. This is what Kyron would look like now. Even though his case is unsolved, it's still open. Law enforcement agencies continue to seek information that could lead to a breakthrough. In fact, there's a $50,000 reward for information leading to Kyron. As we mark 15 years since Kyron Horman vanished, we hold on to hope that answers will come and justice will be served. For more
I'm so excited. I'm just so excited to know he is working this case. He is going to help this case so much. Several people. It's just, I can't wait to see the trial either. I hope it's televised. I hope I can go sit in the courtroom if it isn't televised. Yes, it is absolutely awesome. Well, thank you so much, Ink. I appreciate that. I'm so glad to see you here. I am so ecstatic about him, and I was just so happy to even meet him. Honestly, kind of a little bit starstruck. I mean, Doug Bishop is a handsome man. But I have been listening to him, watching him, bring justice to so many missing people's cases over the years. And to know that he's not going to give up. I know he won't give up. He just won't. He talks about searching the Columbia River. This blew my mind. I had to go look at maps and think about, okay, so, we know in the very beginning, they did a 2-mile radius around Skyline Elementary School, as far as that was the search zone for the first 10 days. Or maybe, well, it was for longer, but then they started focusing on Sauvie Island, which is an island near there. In the bodies of water, north of Skyline Elementary School. And when they, switched their focus over to Sauvie Island, the law enforcement spent so much time over there that the public would get upset. Like, why are you guys spending so much time and money and effort over there in Sauvie Island? You know, because everybody thought there was a camera on the Sauvie Island Bridge, and now we know that there wasn't, because I found a picture of the Sauvie Island Bridge in May of 2010 with no camera on it. So the public harassed law enforcement for a very long time, searching over on Sauvie Island for a long time. Well, when Doug Bishop says that he's, searching the Columbia River, I immediately went, what? Because that means he's searching the waters on Sauvie Island. He has to be, because that's the only thing in the area. The Columbia River runs in between Oregon and Washington State, all the way down. And Terry had limited time. Terry and Dee Dee had limited time to do what they did, whatever it was, with Kyron. Okay? So with that in mind, and in looking into these maps, let me just share my screen here a second. Yes, this is the one I want to start off with. Or wait, no, let's start this one first. Okay, so this is a map. Sauvie Island is this white circle right here in the center. Okay, so all of that is Sauvie Island. It's actually one of the largest islands, I believe the largest island. Actually, let me just tell you, hold on 1 second. I will look it up while you guys stare at that map. Because I want to give you guys a perspective on how big Sauvie Island is, okay? Okay. Sauvie Island at 24,000 acres, the size of Manhattan, is one of the largest river islands in the country and sits at the confluence of the Willamette and Columbia River, just 10 miles northwest of downtown Portland. And from one end to the other, families can see an entire day's worth of adventures. But 24,000 acres, this island is the size of Manhattan and is one of the largest islands, water islands, in the country. So that's where the island is here, okay? Now, along this side of the island here, let me go this way. Okay. You can see right here at the bottom, Highway 30. Highway 30 runs into Portland, but as you travel up, you go around Sauvie Island, and here's Scappoose. So Scappoose and St. Helens area here would be too far for travel in the time that Dee Dee Spicer and Terry Horman had. This is just not possible that she went up this far, okay? Because you can see the Columbia River. It says it right here. The Columbia River following right down around Sauvie Island and all the way down through the Columbia River Gorge, which does separate Oregon and Washington. And so from up here in St. Helens, where it gets a little bit thinner, which would be easy access to the Columbia River, no, this is all way too far away, okay? Here is around where, okay, right in here somewhere, I believe is the bridge. I'll show you guys the bridge in a second that you have to take to get onto Sauvie Island. And then once you're on Sauvie Island, there is the Multnomah Channel that runs right through Highway 30, right in the center between Highway 30 and Sauvie Island. And then it goes up and around over here. So We're not talking Multnomah Channel. We're talking the Columbia River on this side. And it runs that long back of Sauvie Island. Okay? But we know she can't be making it too far up here. It would have to be somewhere in this area. She gets onto the island. She makes it somewhere back along the Columbia River. Maybe, possibly, allegedly. We know Doug Bishop is searching that river. Doug Bishop has reason to believe something is in that river, whether it's evidence or Kyron or something, which is very interesting to me because Terry Horman does not like it when people talk about Sauvie Island. She gets very defensive, and it's the only time she gets defensive is when you talk about Sauvie Island. That's literally the only time I've ever been attacked by Terry Horman was when I found out that there were no cameras on the bridge going over the bridge to Sauvie Island in 2010. And it's because she went on the Dr. Phil show and she told everybody, if I had been on Sauvie Island, the cameras on the Sauvie Island bridge would have seen me go onto the island. She threw a fit about it. And all of her Terry supporters in the Facebook group, they can't let it go. Even though it's been proved to them, they still to this day will tell you there was a camera. She would have been seen or whatever, you know, trying to do what it is they do. But so let me get out of here. And then I want to show you guys this other map that I have that's really interesting. I wanted to show you guys that it's not, you know, she can't be way up Highway 30. That was my reasoning for showing you guys that particular map. She could not be way up to Scappoose, all the way up towards St. Helens and in that area. She did not have enough time. So we know her phone pinged somewhere, and it was somewhere along Highway 30, okay? We know way over here is Scappoose and everything else. So she's not over here. She's over here. And this right here is how you cross over. This is the bridge here to get onto Sauvie Island. It says Sauvie Island Bridge right here to get onto Sauvie Island. And this here is the Multnomah Channel that we talked about. The Multnomah Channel runs all the way into the Columbia River. Okay, this is the Columbia River. Okay, so now you know where the Columbia River is. He's saying he has searched the Columbia River a few times. What I find very interesting is I know that they have done searches for Kyron off of Reeder Road. I was shocked today, you guys. I have been looking into Kyron Horman searches this entire time. I have found so many searches on Kyron Horman. I thought that I knew what I was doing when I talked about Reeder Road, but I'm going to have to admit today that I was probably wrong. I have to look into it a little bit more, but I really might have been wrong because down here is Reeder Road. This little bitty little snake looking road right here. I would cross this bridge, come down Sauvie Island Road, get on to Reeder Road, and I thought that I found this search area that they were searching for Kyron. I couldn't figure out why. Why would they search here? Well, guess what, you guys? Guess what? When you take the Sauvie Island Bridge and you come up over and you head west, there's another Reeder Road. And look where it goes. It takes you all the way through Sauvie Island. And you get all the way up here to Reeder Road. The thing is this road here isn't a public road, but you can get to it. Now I know because I've recently been there a couple of weeks ago. Me and my husband got lost all over the island investigating. If you take the bridge here, come around this loop, and then head down Gillian Road, it takes you all the way over here. And guess what you run into? This is Reeder Road. All of this is Reeder Road. She probably would not have been able to make it down all this way because, like I said, we're getting into this Scappoose. We're getting into this St. Helens area. She didn't have time. But here's Reeder Road here. What is Reeder Road? Along the Columbia River. When I looked this up today, the hair literally stood up on the back of my neck. I know for certain I've seen the article talk about the search on Reeder Road, okay? I know they searched it. And here's Reeder Road along the Columbia River. And then there's this right here, another little road. And you guys can bet my next visit, when I go Kyron searching, I'm going right back to Sauvie Island. I'm going to go follow this Gillian Road all the way around. I'm going to get on this Reeder Road. I'm going to take this little bitty road that goes down. Guess where, you guys? This little road goes all the way to the Columbia River. Is this where they're searching for Kyron right now? I don't know. But Doug Bishop is doing searches for Kyron in the Columbia River. This would actually be in an area where she would be able to make it to, or Dee Dee would be able to make it to here. Highway 30's here. We know Terry Horman's phone ping somewhere along here and pinged off of the cell phone tower on Highway 30 because there is no cell phone towers at all, still to this day, not in 2010, on Sauvie Island. Matter of fact, I need to make sure to keep this link for this particular map. I was so fascinated by this particular map, like hell to the no. Did I get it wrong? Right here, little bitty Reeder Road, and it says right here, Lucy Reeder Road. I really think I might have got it wrong, guys, but I have to check into it because there is a whole nother Reeder Road. I know for a fact she couldn't come up through this Reeder Road. Not only do I believe that this is all cutting through land, a gravel road and whatnot that comes straight through, but I know for a fact because I go to pumpkin patches right here in this area that you can take Gillian Road all the way down. And it does get to this other Reeder Road that is against and along going east and west with the Columbia River. Hot damn, you guys. Doug Bishop is searching for Kyron, and I found Reeder Road along the Columbia River. I have so much to look into. I have areas I can start taking more videos in. I want to make sure that, because I like to put out those videos, give a perspective, but also if anybody saw anything that day, maybe if they saw something, they would, call in some kind of tip or something. But yeah, I cannot wait. You need to pass, do you need a pass for Sauvie Island, or is it just in certain areas? You do not need a pass to go on to Sauvie Island. They're open to the public. It's farmland. You can go there to purchase fresh flowers. You can go there and get fresh honey, fresh wine. Pumpkin patches are there. There's farm stores there. There's one farm that's always putting on all different kinds of like activities for families. They have like amazing food, food trucks that come in and stuff on the weekends to give kids something to do. Yes, Sally Mae. Wow, right? Wow. I'm just so wowed, you guys. I can't even pretend to be not excited. I'm just so friggin' excited. Oh my God, a nope rope just crawled on my porch. Sent hubby out to deal with it. Oh no. Boo. Yeah, I mean, if you're gonna go there to like go hunting, if you're gonna go there to do like that kind of recreational sports or stuff, you might have to have like a permit or a pass or something. I know they do, but there's not too much hunting allowed on Sauvie Island because there are lots of wildlife refuge, places and areas there that you cannot go in. You cannot go in. So gonna just go through the comments real quick. Sarah's suspicious is throwing up red flags. We know there are some definite red flags. Cannot wait for the day that charges come out on these women. Me too. I'll be in the courtroom for this one. Oh yeah. I want to see it. Hopefully I'll have a seat. I'm working with people to make sure I do, just in case it's not televised, because if it's televised, I'll be right here with you guys. I will be streaming it and we will be talking it and discussing it as it's happening. It will be a big thing for Missing PNW if it's televised or streaming somewhere. Oh, Kyron just keeps breaking my heart. I keep seeing that Tree Frog Science Fair project. He's just a handsome little boy, isn't he? I mean, that's why he got my attention. It was that giant smile, his glasses, his ears. He was just such a happy little boy. 7 years old when he came up missing. Loving and trusting his stepmother. He didn't think that when he left the school with her that day that something bad was going to happen to him. He trusted her. She was supposed to protect him, not harm him, not put him in the hands of another monster that hurt him, however it went down that day. Thank you guys so much for being here and supporting Kyron and the family. Yes, Doug and his team do amazing work. I'm so friggin' excited. I can't even handle it. And I could see the excitement on Desiree's face after the vigil, and I got a chance to speak with her and talk with her and talk more about advocating for Kyron and bringing more awareness for him and using this platform to do so. And Doug Bishop was very excited to talk about Kyron. He even got really excited to talk about Monkey in Idaho. So Michael Vaughn, who came up missing July 27th of 2021. And I just very excited, you guys. I needed to just come live and show you guys all of the new information. I mean, I found out this information earlier today, and then I started looking into Doug Bishop. But when I got a hold of that map, oh my God, you guys, when I got a hold of that map and I saw Reeder Road traveling the Columbia River, there's only a couple of places that Terry or Dee Dee could have driven, okay? And there are some gravel roads, and that's why you also have to ask yourself, like, is that why she had the truck? Did she drive on the sand? Was there a gravel road involved? I will be doing more research. I will be driving to Sauvie Island. I've got to go check out this other Reeder Road. Me and my daughter, it just so happened, you guys, this is so weird to me, that I have already been looking at different riverbeds, creek beds, and stuff in this area of Sauvie Island because we know it's been 15 years since Kyron disappeared. from Skyline Elementary School. Last seen by Terry Horman, okay? That was June 4th, 2025, marked that 15-year mark. And one of the news things that had came out, they showed pictures, renewed pictures I've never seen of searches. And I was looking at them going, I don't know where that is. So I've actually been over to Sauvie Island since, trying to find the location by using these pictures that the news used on this news report that came out on Kyron. And me and my daughter were like Google searching, Google mapping, Google everything, trying to find, you know, different little rivers and creek beds, trying to see if we could find, you know, through Google Earth, you know, is this river look like those pictures? Nope, that's not it. And my daughter found another Reeder Road. It didn't dawn on me. Because I was like, well, I know about Reeder Road because I have an address, and it took me to this other little Reeder Road. Once I did see it, though, I was like, is there any creeks or rivers that run along that? But I wasn't thinking Columbia River. I was thinking more on Sauvie Island, and there is like lakes and creeks, and it looked like a smaller, oh my gosh, as I say that, hold on one second. Is that what I saw, you guys? Oh, goodness. There were smaller areas, I think, that they were looking at. Okay, so this would be giant if they were looking here on the Columbia River. But this little area right here that's also off of Reeder Road, this would be more of a smaller looking that might just be an area where they could have been searching because of the pictures and renewed. And what's funny about that too is that I told Heidi when I saw those pictures, Heidi is my admin and she's a moderator here. She's my partner, somebody that I research with on Kyron Horman case. And I told her, I said, man, in those pictures, I'm seeing people searching for Kyron and they don't look like Multnomah County Sheriff's Office. And ding, ding, ding. Now we know that Doug Bishop and the United Search Corps has been searching for Kyron. Yep. You know, and there was a private investigator that another one of my partners that I work with on the Michael Vaughn case, she was working with a PI that was working on Kyron's case. And when she asked him, why'd you stop working on the case? He goes, there was nowhere else to go. Everything led to Sauvie Island. Ding, ding, ding. And now Doug Bishop is searching Columbia River there off Sauvie Island. And I know he's searching it off of Sauvie Island because she couldn't have traveled further up. The sad thing is, though, if you think about it, really, is that the Columbia River travels all the way out to the ocean. Lots of twists and turns and everything else to get there, but it's very swift. It's very fast. So is he searching for Kyron there? Is he searching for evidence? I believe he's searching for Kyron. And he has searched in areas like this before. So I have a lot of faith, and I really hope that he brings something to the table and, you know, blows our minds and just finds something amazing. Wouldn't it look? I mean, wouldn't that be an amazing thing to find something, find Kyron, find something though that just screams, you know, here's the evidence, that last puzzle piece that proves for a fact Terry Horman or Dee Dee Spicer came here. This is what happened. Something. Yeah, it does look like a channel. You actually have like the Multnomah channel that runs in between Highway 30 and Sauvie Island, and then you have the Columbia River. The Columbia River separates Washington and Oregon State. in its entirety, actually. Huge river. Yeah, there's so much in that area. I mean, and just think about it, Sally Mae. How long did they search Sauvie Island? Months and months and months, and then they stopped, and then they went back and searched again for months and months. I can go through my search records and tell you Desiree Young herself took money that was donated to her by having, her car washes and everything else. She searched Sauvie Island in 2013, 14, 15. In 2017, the grand jury told Multnomah County Sheriff's Office to search Sauvie Island again. What? I mean, Sauvie Island, Sauvie Island, Sauvie Island. The searches have never stopped. They've used ATVs, they've used horses, helicopters, people. I have people that are in my group that talk about being in on these searches and having to use hand rakes, not the great big long rakes that you use with both arms, but like one single little handed rake, bending over and searching through things to search for evidence. Another woman, Lori, that's came onto my show that knows and was introduced to one of Terry Horman's ex-boyfriends, Joseph Cristobal. She was also a searcher for Desiree Young in those searches on Sauvie Island using her dogs. These searches were very, very intense. I have gone to Sauvie Island and I can't tell you how many people, how many farmers, how many houses. For instance, I was driving down Sauvie Island Road one day, saw a woman with her daughter taking the garbage out. I put on my brakes, rolled down my windows, noticed nobody would, there's not a lot of traffic on Sauvie Island unless it's busy during, pumpkin patch season. So I put on my brakes and I stopped and I asked her, hey, I was just down at the Wapato, Greenway, area. Can you tell me if they've searched this area? She went on to tell me how they had searched her property, her husband's property that he owned across the street. I know where they've done searches for Kyron on Sauvie Island. I have talked to another instance. I have gone to little festivals on purpose. Sit there, you go up to one of the food trucks, you're ordering it, you just sit down at the table. I purposely start conversations with my husband about Kyron, and you're going to have not one, not two, but I'm talking 10 to 20 people hear you talk about Kyron. They move closer to where you're at. They start talking to you. I tell them that I run a Facebook group. I tell them that I talk about them on YouTube. And then I start asking all these people, did they search your property? 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 And I find out through all of these people that live on that island how extensive this search was for Kyron over there. And now it's just all making sense. And I just recently, my partner that is another partner that I have that's a PI, knowing that other private investigator that said he was a PI on Kyron's case in the very beginning and that he quit because everything led to Sauvie Island. I just found that out within this last year. So all of the puzzle pieces are coming together for me to now watch her on Dr. Phil's show when she talks about her phone pinging on Highway 30. I was not on Sauvie Island. If I would have been on Sauvie Island, the Sauvie Island Bridge camera would, like, Dr. Phil's like, oh yeah, and the Sauvie Island Bridge camera would have seen you, right? And she just like, oh yeah, would have seen me. No camera was ever on that bridge. I found out all of this information because I got very angry and very upset seeing that Desiree Young was spending her time, money, and effort searching Sauvie Island. I tell the detective, why? Why is law enforcement allowing her to spend her time, money, and effort to search for Kyron if he's not out there? If you guys had a camera on the Sauvie Island Bridge, you know, why? Yep. And then I researched some more and found out that it wasn't there. And it just blew my mind. I think Sauvie Island is key now. And I believe one of the reasons why they have been searching the ground and in high elevations, because if you remember, Terry and Dee Dee did this together, and Terry Horman's phone was pinging in areas very high up in elevation and all around different areas. Dee Dee Spicer left her cell phone at West Wind Farms where she worked that day. All she had on her was the burner phone. So if she had Kyron, she was on Sauvie Island while Terry was out driving around to throw off law enforcement. That's where mine's kind of going in this theory, but I still, just like, I'm always open to so much more, information. I just stay really open-minded. I don't want to say for a fact, but I am really like 80% sure, 85% sure Sauvie Island plays a part in where Kyron Horman was put, buried, put in the river. I don't know. But it's huge to me. And this is going to be lots and lots and lots of conversations and discussions. Matter of fact, in Kyron Horman Case Revisited discussions group, I'm going to go ahead and put the link here because I would love for you guys to come over, be a part of the group and discuss this. It is mind-blowing to me that, all this time, this information's kind of been right here. And yet, yeah, I thought it was just more a possibility that he was somewhere out in the woods, because that's where all of their searches were for so long. But I think they were looking for evidence that Terry could have been getting rid of up in those mountains and in those elevations, because we have witnesses seeing her drive all over hell and back in that area. And so because Dee Dee Spicer didn't have her phone on her, I think she purposely left it so that her phone wasn't pinging. It was just at West Wind Farms where she was believed to be at work that day, but witnesses saw her abruptly leave the property and she was gone for up to 4 hours. Desiree Young is now saying that Terry picked Dee Dee up. I believe that Terry Horman took Dee Dee Spicer to another vehicle or to another person, and then, there was some kind of trade-off or something. But it's huge that Doug Bishop is in this case. It's huge that we may know a little bit more about where Kyron could be, or what, where they're focusing. What is law enforcement focusing on right now? They're really focusing on digitizing his case and handing it over to the FBI and the BAU, which is just huge. But so excited to show you guys this information today. And for those of you that follow Monkey, Michael Vaughn, and that case that I cover, I am currently working on some stuff in the background and I have been given permission to talk about Adrian Lucian, finally able to talk about information that I know and have about Adrian Lucian. This is big, big, big. I will be dropping that as soon as I get all my information, videos, clips, everything put together. I know my admins are going to be super stoked about that. I know that pressure on suspects in Michael Vaughn's case is something that needs to be done. Brandon Shirtliff's still out there thinking that he's getting away with something, but I just want to let you guys know more coming on Michael Bond's case soon. I just have to put things together. I have a lot of recordings. I have a lot of clips. I have a lot of stuff I have to put together. I have a lot of stuff I have to redact. It's going to take me a minute. Could be sometime next week on that. But there will be another live on Monkey Bond, just not about Adrian Lucian. But yeah, I am super excited to be bringing new information on Michael's case. Very excited today, bringing new information in Kyron Horman's case. I hope Doug Bishop keeps doing what he's doing, putting out more and more information and talking about Kyron. Especially because he can use his YouTube channel. I've actually reached out to him in an email. So Doug, check your email, get back to me. Just telling him I would love to have him here on the show to talk about Kyron. I would love to go over to his show to talk about Kyron. I told Desiree Young, Kyron's mom, that I want to be more involved in helping bring awareness for Kyron. So I hope that all of this stuff really starts happening soon. Just really excited about everything that's happened the last few weeks and to be a part of it. So thank you guys all for coming in. I've really enjoyed being here and bringing you guys new information. I hope you guys have an amazing Tuesday evening. Thank you guys so much for being here. Love y'all. Take care of yourself. Stay safe. Sally Mae, happy birthday, hon.
We're coming for you. Don't sleep.